Hello everybody, Maven here, and yesterday we did an insurmountable Skull Fort Arc Titan build to try to spam the new bolt charge mechanic as much as feasibly possible. And today we're attempting to do the same thing on Warlock as well as spamming the brand new Ionic Sentry Aspect ability. And what we learned is the fastest way to spam bolt charge is by spamming abilities. And what's the fastest way to spam abilities on Arc Warlock? Fallen Sunstar. Now hold on, I know a lot of viewers, especially newer players, are going to come at me saying, what are you, stupid? The Crown of Tempest is the fastest way to spam abilities on Arc Warlock, but listen up to me, you're wrong. The Fallen Sunstar is by far faster and benefits your fire team as well. It's just a better option, so let me break it down and show you what it can do. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. Alright, so why am I using the Fallen Sunstar? Because I know a lot of people are going to be curious why I'm not using the Geomag stabilizers, because the Geomags are really popping off right now in the meta. Everybody's talking about them. You can get your Chaos Reach super fast. But I'm using the Fallen Sunstar for today's build because I have 3 main ideas in mind for this build, and that is to spam abilities, Bolt Charge, and Ionic Sentry as much as possible. Ionic Sentry is the brand new aspect where you defeat targets with arc or kinetic weapons or arc abilities to charge up the turret, and you can press your grenade button to throw out the turret, and it blinds the vicinity and starts striking lightning around at stuff and granting you stacks of bolt charge whenever it hits a target. So if you take a look at this example clip here, just watch my bolt charge stacks on the left side of the screen. Every lightning strike the Ionic Sentry does is granting me like 4 stacks of bolt charge. Like, it's something ridiculous. And I think the way it's doing this is that the hit itself grants 1 stack of bolt charge, and then we have the revamped spark of frequency that says that anytime you would get a bolt charge, you get that many plus 1. So that makes it 2. And then we have the new dielectric artifact mod that says defeating arc debuff targets grants bolt charge, and you know, the turret blinds, so it's granting 1 there, and then frequency ups that to 2, so that's how it's granting 4 per hit. So yeah, the Ionic Sentry is crazy at giving you bolt charge stacks. The only downside of this thing is that it only shoots 1 target at a time. It doesn't shoot multiple, as you might have seen in the clip there. You might have also seen that the radius isn't very large. It's kind of like around 15-ish meters. So it doesn't have a lot of reach to it. But I guarantee you in the future we'll get an exotic for Ionic Sentry to increase its radius and its rate of fire. Sort of like the Rhymecoat Raiment did for Bleak Watchers, turning them into snipers. I'm sure we'll get one of those for the Ionic Sentry. But now let's get back on track of why we are using the Fallen Sunstar over something like the Geomag stabilizers. So the goal of this build is ability spam, and if I wanted to achieve that, I'm going to use the Fallen Sunstar. It's better than the Crown of Tempest, and Geomag doesn't do anything for ability spam. So it says, Ionic Conductor. Ionic traces you create move faster towards you and grant additional ability energy. Nearby allies also gain ability energy when you collect an Ionic trace. So what this does is it basically doubles the energy you get from Ionic traces. So picking up a trace grants you plus 25% grenade and melee energy and 30% class ability energy. That is a lot of ability energy. And your allies also get 10% to all of their cooldowns whenever you collect a trace. So it's great for everybody, especially if you have 3 Fallen Sunstar Warlocks on your fire team. The back-to-back ability spam is basically infinite. So if you take a look at this clip here, I'm gonna throw away all of my abilities, so I'm left with nothing, and then I'm just gonna go kill a few ads with my Cold Heart and collect a few traces. I collect 4 traces, and you can see that the information doesn't exactly line up with Light.gg's information. I do get my entire grenade back and get like to 90% on my melee and my class ability. So that's a lot. Good luck achieving that amount of ability spam with any other Warlock exotic. And just so you can see what I mean, I'm going to do a full run through the Orrery Lost sector here with the Fallen Sunstar, so you can just gauge how much ability spam I got. And then I'm going to run through it again with the Geomag stabilizers, so you can see that the ability spam is a lot tougher to do. You have to jump through hoops more to be able to spam more abilities. The only upside of the Geomag stabilizers is obviously the super spam. That's what it's all about. So for like super tough endgame content like Grandmaster Nightfalls, yeah, the Chaos Reach is definitely going to be something you're going to want more than the ability spam probably. So there's a time and place for everything, but outside of like GMs, I think Fallen Sunstar wins in every every other situation. Now let's talk about how we're able to make so many Ionic traces, and the first and the main way is going to be the aspect Electrostatic Mind. Defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an Ionic trace. Collecting an Ionic trace makes you amplified. And the part here that says blinded targets is what synergizes so well with the Ionic Sentry because it blinds on vicinity when you cast it, and also it's the reason why I'm using flashbang grenades, because you both jolt and blind a target because we're running Spark of Shock, so our grenades can jolt but at the same time they blind. And I've had situations where my nade alone makes like 3 Ionic traces. Now I could be what the kids call coping. I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know if it is capable of making multiple traces per grenade, but I have seen it happen in my game. I don't know about you. I could be dead wrong, but yeah, I've seen flashbangs make multiple traces a lot of times. But don't take my word for it. It's not concrete information, but it's just what I found success with, and I'm enjoying the flashbangs, so that's why I'm using them. But you can use pulse grenades or storm grenades if you want to. And our next source of Ionic traces is Spark of Ion, so defeating a jolted target makes an Ionic trace. And then finally we got Spark of Discharge, so arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an Ionic trace, but that word chance there is completely false, and I don't know why Bungie does this on a lot of different abilities and exotics and whatnot. It's not a chance system, it's a progress bar system. The progress bar is invisible, but bosses are 100% of the progress meter. Elites and majors are like 2/3, and then minors are 34%. So you kill 3 minors and that's a guaranteed Ionic trace. Now obviously I'm recording this commentary in post and I don't know the timing of the background gameplay clips, but at this point you might have seen that same Lost Sector done with the Geomax stabilizers, and you can see just how much slower the ability spam is without the Fallen Sunstar. So yeah, the Fallen Sunstar really puts in the work when it comes to ability spam and helping your teammates. But anyways, let's move on and talk about our weapon of choice here, which you might have noticed is the Cold Heart. Because it has the perk Longest Winter, this is periodically generates Ionic traces while in its high damage state. You lay on that trigger, you get in its high damage state. It only takes a second. It's really quick and easy to stay in that high damage state. And you just generate so many traces from not only that, but Spark of Discharge on top of that. And you're just fed so much ability energy with that Fallen Sunstar. And not only that, but also there was a handful of archetype buffs in the recent patch. And as you can see, Trace Rifles got a 20% damage buff versus minors. So they just lay out trash mobs so much harder than before. And in recent seasons, they also got buffs against majors as well. So Trace Rifles are just hitting really hard. But I know some of you might be curious about why we are not using the Delicate Tomb, because it just got a huge buff. It says that you increase the chance to make an Ionic trace from a minor combatant from 4% to 10%, and increase the PvE damage bonus of Tempest Cascade from 30% to 100%, and remove the timer from Tempest Cascade lasts until it's fired. So for those that don't know, Tempest Cascade is procced by collecting an Ionic trace, and it's going to make your next shot jolt and do additional damage when you hip fire. So testing that out against Carl, that first initial Tempest Cascade shot does that 100% bonus damage. It does double damage and hits him for a lot, like 1/3 of his health. It does like basically the damage of a rocket launcher, and we're able to take him out in just 7 shots. It does a lot of burst DPS. It's a very good weapon. And when we compare that side by side against the Cold Heart, it's not even close. The Delicate Tomb is going to win every time, and especially we have the Particle Deconstruction artifact mod this season that's going to make your fusion rifles cause a weaken debuff. So it's just a no-brainer. Delicate Tomb is by far the strongest. So why am I not using the Delicate Tomb on this build? Well, it's only for 2 reasons. One, because the Cold Heart just made more Ionic traces with its Longest Winter perk. You could even lay on the trigger against a fatter target and Ionic traces will just come pouring out of them. So just the consistent ability spam is definitely there with the Cold Heart. And then the other reason is just because of the range. You know, it's a trace. I got way more range than a fusion. And the reason I want range is because if you take a look at my loadout of choice, I'm using a sidearm, the Buzzard with Overflow Kinetic Tremors, as my anti-barrier option, because currently this season there are no long-range primary champion stunning options. Everything else is special and heavy. So we're stuck with sidearms. And while we're here, my heavy of choice is the Bittersweet with Envious and Bait and Switch. But I also could see swapping over to the Storm Chaser once I unlock Particle Deconstruction. Now let's talk about how we're able to basically use our Cold Heart as a primary weapon and have infinite ammo, because if you take a look at our mod setup, we got Special Finisher on our class item, and we can spam that pretty much whenever the heck we want, because we have Elemental Charge on our boots. This is when you collect an elemental pickup such as an Ionic Trace, for example, it gives you a chance of getting armor charge. And at the rate that we are making Ionic Traces, we basically always have infinite armor charge, and we can dump Special Finishers anytime. And on top of that, we have double Special Finders on our helmet for added consistency, and then double Arc Reserves on our chest so that our Cold Heart can hold 667 ammo. That's a lot. And those Arc Reserves are also benefiting our heavy weapon as well. And the rest of our mods are just geared towards ability spam, like on our gloves we got Impact Induction, and then Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation to help our class ability. And we want our Rift because, you know, survival for one. For two, it also procs Bomber and Outreach on our class item. We can make orbs with Arc Siphon on our helmet, and picking up these orbs also procs Absolution on our boots to get more ability cooldown, as well as Recuperation to get some health back. And finally, I got just one resist on my chest because why not? You can swap that out to whatever element you need for the threat modifier. And that about does it for the Fallen Sunstar build, the most ability spammiest, bolt charge spammiest build you can have on Arc Warlock. And I know since the Fallen Sunstar's conception and Season of the Plunder, everybody's just overlooked it and went straight to the Crown of Tempest thinking that's the best, but they're overlooking the more spammy option in the Fallen Sunstar. But one thing I could give to the Crown of Tempest, especially right now, is that if you want to run Ionic Sentry and Arc Soul together, then you're going to get more out of the Crown of Tempest. And I really wish I could run those two abilities together, but unfortunately Electrostatic Mind is just too important to like the fundamentals of ability spam on Arc Warlock. Electrostatic Mind is like the core of it all. But since Crown of Tempest feeds off of just ability kills alone, you could get away with running both Ionic Sentry and Arc Soul. And like I said before, Geomags are obviously going to be the king of the more difficult levels of content, because spamming Chaos Reaches, it just allows you to cheese everything basically. And if you did want to run a Geomag Stabilizers build, you can basically just run this exact build I showed you today, but just swap out the exotics. Literally keep all the same mods, all the same fragments, everything exactly the same, and just toss on Geomags and that's your build. So I guess today you kind of got two build videos in one if you think about it. So as always, if you wanted to try the build out, I'll leave a dim loadout link to it down below in the description, and also the pinned comment if you want to give it a try. And if you got any buddies who are Warlock mains, I'd appreciate if you share the video with them. This is perhaps maybe something they might want to give a try to. And thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and let me know down below in the comments what you think about the build, and if you have any ideas of something you would change about it. And also, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more episode Heresy content on the way, doing daily builds for the next week. I might miss tomorrow actually because the new dungeon is coming out, but I'll try to upload a video. But if it doesn't happen, don't worry about it. I'll continue the next day as normal, as scheduled. But yeah, remember to check out our sponsor, Advanced GG, code Maven at checkout for 10% off your order, link down below, and I will catch you in the next video. See you later.